Welcome to the Widows Collective, where grief meets hope, healing, and community. I'm Lauren Lentz, grief coach, fellow widow, and the heart behind this space. There is life before loss, and then there is life after. If you're here, it likely means your life has been turned upside down by the death of your person. Maybe you've just found yourself in this new world that feels unrecognizable, or maybe you've been walking it for a while, trying to figure out what healing looks like now. I want you to know you are not alone. This podcast is a gathering place for widows living in the after. Together, we'll name the ache, honor the love, and share tools, truths, and stories that help you feel supported along the way. My hope is that every episode gives you a sense of community, comfort, and permission to meet yourself exactly where you are. Hello, and welcome back to episode 14, Living in the Fog. As you can probably tell, I've been battling some virus that left me with laryngitis this past week, so excuse the raspy voice. I have tried to record multiple times, and my vocal cords were not allowing me to do so. As I've been sick, I've noticed just how much harder it is to feel like you're able to arrive fully. Everything this last week's been slower and blurrier and far more exhausting. And it brought me back to the early days of grief. So I want to start by saying this. If you're listening today and you're feeling foggy, disconnected, not quite yourself, I see you. And I want to acknowledge the effort it took just to press play today. That matters more than people realize. Showing up, even for a few minutes, is an act of care. It takes energy, especially when you feel like you don't have an ounce left. Early grief often feels exactly like this, a haze. Your thoughts feel muddled, decisions that once felt simple can suddenly feel heavy or out of reach. You might notice yourself moving through routines without really being present, like your body is doing the day while your mind and your heart are somewhere else. I want to normalize this fog. It's one of the ways your mind and body protect you when something life-altering has happened, like the death of your spouse. When loss is too big to fully take in all at once, your system starts to shut down. It creates a little distance, it softens the edges, and it allows you to keep going. That's what today is about. Living in the fog of early grief. How it shows up, why it's there, and how we can meet it with a little more understanding and a lot less pressure. Before we begin, and if it feels safe for you, I'd love to pause here and ground us in the moment. Take a second to place your hand on your heart and notice your breath, your chest rising and falling. Let yourself register that you're here, that you're listening, that you're breathing, and that you're allowing things to be exactly as they are. So, as we come back and settle into this moment, I want to take some time to talk about what the fog actually feels like in early grief. Because for many people who don't understand, they may think that it's dramatic, but oftentimes it's not dramatic or obvious to the outside world. It can show up in ordinary, everyday moments. And that's what makes it so disorienting. Your mind can feel slowed down, like it's moving through this thick haze. Thoughts drift in and out. Details that used to feel simple, checking a text, making a cup of coffee, remembering what day it is, suddenly feel like trying to walk through water. There's a disconnect between what you're doing and what you're feeling. Time itself can feel strange. Minutes stretch, days blur together. You may notice yourself standing in front of the fridge, unsure of why you opened it. Sitting with your breakfast in the morning and you can't remember what you were trying to do a moment ago. Laundry, emails, bills, they feel overwhelming, like you're climbing some mountain when they used to be second nature for you. Senses can also feel muted or distorted. Sounds may seem distant, colors less vibrant, even tastes altered. Familiar places or routines can feel alien, and yet at the same time, those sensory details can pierce through. The smell of your coffee, the sunlight on your skin, a soft texture, reminding you that life is still happening outside of the fog, even if you feel far removed from it. I remember just days after Kevin died, I somehow forced myself to leave the house. I felt like a robot. I remember literally thinking, like, how am I picking my body up, walking down my stairs, going into my car, and heading to a coffee shop? And it was one that I went to routinely, I'm sure unconsciously hoping to find a little thread of normalcy, to pretend like this all wasn't actually happening. I was standing in line waiting to order when it hit me. I was in this line with all these people. Everyone's doing their thing. The barista is making the next coffee. People are chatting in line. I'm looking like everything is fine when my whole life just imploded. When I was standing there, I was numb. And I also felt like I was dying inside, and not one person knew. No one knew. I didn't know what day it was, that I couldn't tell up from down, that I didn't know the last time I ate, that my sister was having to help me figure out when I was breastfeeding my son because, again, I couldn't remember anything. I was there and I could smell the coffee beans and the warmth and the aroma, and I could hear these little details of coffee shops that I love so much, but I was floating. I had no feelings towards it. It was like this complete sense of disconnect and apathy from the world around me that I was watching through what seemed like this thick pane of glass. I didn't have words for it yet, but I think my body was searching, longing for something familiar, a thread of steadiness, a reminder that I was here, that I wasn't dreaming this, that I wasn't in a coma like I had thought before. That's a story for another day. It was a tiny anchor that I didn't know how to name. My chest felt so heavy. I felt extremely restless. My mind was absent and overactive at the same time. And you'll hear me talk about this throughout episodes. There's so much duality that lives inside grief. It was surreal. Life moved forward outside of me while I felt suspended in this separate reality. Every sensation, every detail felt distorted. But even in the fog, my body was quietly reaching for connection, for anything that could help me feel just momentarily grounded in a world that seemed to no longer make sense to me. Now, let's talk about what it looks like to live in the fog day to day. When I work with clients, especially clients that are early in grief, some of the biggest things that I want to do is to really emphasize how normal this experience is. It's really important that we normalize grief. This fog, this disorientation, the heaviness, it's not a sign that there is something wrong with you. It's not a sign that you're failing navigating the newness of your world. It's a natural response to a loss that's too big to process at once. Your mind and body are your biggest protector. They're giving you just enough bandwidth to keep going. recognizing that it is how your system responds can really help release some of that internal pressure and self-judgment. It also allows you to feel that much less alone. It allows you to take a moment to breathe and think, okay, I am not the only one that's trudging through this haze right now. The next thing that I encourage from my clients is allowing yourself to be in the fog. And that is very uncomfortable. I don't want to invalidate that experience. Living in a fog like this when you've never lived in this experience before is like, what do I need to do? What easy button do I need to push? Who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to pay to get out of it? But there is no timeline, and there can't be an expectation for how quickly you should return to clarity. And so it does feel frustrating, and you can feel impatient or even scared, and that's okay. That's okay. These feelings are a part of grief. Sitting with the fog and acknowledging it and letting yourself experience it without fighting it and trying to fix it, and telling yourself, okay, even though this doesn't feel natural to me, I'm starting to understand that this is a normal part of grieving. This is a normal part of being in survival mode after a life-altering experience. It honors what your body and your mind are doing. From there, I like to focus on small, very small, manageable steps. Sometimes I'll sound redundant in these episodes when I say things like, my mantra for 6 years has literally been baby steps and deep breaths. Because tasks for you right now that once felt automatic, like the laundry, like the emails, cooking, getting dressed, they might feel impossible. Getting out of bed might feel impossible. When you look up and you recognize that you haven't showered in 3 days and you all of a sudden feel this overwhelming sense of shame because who is this person that's now showing up? Reminding yourself that you are doing something you've never done and break it down. Break it down. It's okay if you haven't showered in 3 days. What is one manageable thing you can do today? Can it be folding half a load of laundry? Can it be making sure that you are getting a water 3-4 times a day? Or brushing your hair? Or writing yourself a reminder, don't forget to take that shower. Each tiny action during this time counts. The fog's still going to be there, but you are going to start teaching yourself that it's possible to move through it, even in small little increments. Finally, this is a really hard one too. This is not something that I think that you need to do right now. So this is just a gentle reminder that it's important to remember, even when it doesn't feel like it, even when it feels like so permanent, that the fog is just a season. It can feel endless, but it's not permanent. Over time, moments of clarity will begin to return. It will almost feel like this cloak has been lifted off of you slowly. Some also feel like it gets ripped off of them very fast. There's no correct way here, but your energy will fluctuate. Your mind will settle more often, and the heaviness will gradually ease. It won't feel so raw and so numb, so visceral and so disconnected from reality. But right now, the goal isn't to get back to normal. And what was normal before will not be normal moving forward. You will be creating a new normal. And again, even the sound of that probably sounds terrible. So we don't have to go there today. It's just to meet yourself where you are, honor what your system needs, and trust that this fog is temporary, even when it feels like it could last forever. Nothing lasts forever. No feeling lives inside of you all day, every day. They ebb and flow. This season, the fog will ebb and flow. It will release at some point. Another thing that I think is really hard to wrap our minds around, especially when we're in this space and we don't have a lot of capacity for our minds to be thinking about stuff like this, is that the fog, the time you're in that fog, is full of contrasts. Emotional waves come in unpredictability, sometimes within seconds. You might be doing the dishes and suddenly a wave of grief hits and you feel this pang in your chest, or tears just start streaming down your face, or your stomach feels tight or nauseous. And then maybe minutes later, you come across a flash of relief, or this like fleeting moment of joy appears. Maybe you remember something small about your spouse that brings a smile, or maybe your kiddo comes and gives you a hug and all of a sudden you feel this gentle calm come over you. Sometimes there's numbness, just a complete disconnect from your body, from your mind, from the world. And sometimes in the middle of the fog, curiosity sneaks in. You notice a bird land on your porch, or this tiny little pattern on a cup, or the rhythm of your own breath. And for a brief moment, you feel lightness. This duality, these contrasts are normal. Grief is not linear. You might have several emotions at once, sadness and relief and numbness and a spark of joy. And understanding that it can feel really confusing can be helpful, just to remember again that this is a part of your experience. It is a part of your body recalibrating. I like to explore the idea of gentle curiosity, because I think a lot of times in life in general, we have a problem and then we're given a solution. And so society can believe that grief is just a problem to be fixed, but grief is not a problem. And you are not broken. You are brokenhearted, but you are not broken. So there is no problem solving. There is no solution. And when we allow ourselves to accept that there is no solution to grief, and we get curious and we stop analyzing and we just notice, we pick a sensation or a thought or a feeling, and we don't try to make sense of it, but we just kind of ask ourselves, like, where is it in my body today? How strong is it? How does it shift if you breathe slowly for 30 seconds, or if you place your hand on your heart, or you notice 3 things around you, or 2 sounds that you're hearing? Or you ask yourself, what's one tiny thing I can do to bring some momentary sense of steadiness? Remember, this is momentary. This is small. We're living second by second in the fog. We're not living day by day, month by month, year by year. We're living second by second. What is one momentary thing of steadiness that I can do? Maybe it's stepping outside and feeling the cool air on your body, or putting a warm blanket over you, or responding to a text message from a trusted friend, or getting on a phone call. Even just saying out loud, I'm in the fog and I'm here, is a small micro anchor that matters. You're creating space for yourself to exist inside this haze. You're getting curious about what it's like to live inside of it for you. And there's so much more here. I can't even go into all the details about being in the fog in this one episode, because obviously there's resistance too. I don't want to be here. This is not the life that I want, right? This is not what I ever thought my life would look like. And I'm frustrated that I'm here. There's so much there. But these are just ways, small things we can do to start to soften into our experience of living in the fog. Society likes things that are clean, neat, and tidy. We don't like messy. We like timelines. We like certainty. We like to know what comes next. It's what makes us feel safe. It's what makes us feel comfortable. And this early season of grief is really uncomfortable, and it doesn't feel safe to the nervous system. It feels really scary. So many people expect grief to be intense but clear, something sharp and identifiable, or stages that you move through. Instead, it is often, very often, nonlinear. You might find that you took 10 steps forward to take 20 steps back. It often arrives as disorientation, fog, slowness, a sense that everything just feels slightly out of reach, especially early on in our grief. But it can also be true months or even years later when you're technically, quote unquote, past the beginning, but still feel like you're trying to find your footing. This doesn't mean you're doing grief wrong. It means your system is adjusting to profound change. I've sat with this for a long time now. And although I work closely with clients one-on-one and in group, I felt like there was something else that needed to be put out into the universe, if you will. So I created something called Through the Fog. And it was created specifically for these seasons, the weeks and months after loss, and also for those who may be further along but just still feel unsteady or unclear or disconnected from themselves. Times when concentration is limited, emotions feel unpredictable or muted, and simply getting through the day takes way more energy than expected. It's a gentle, self-guided companion made up of short videos and small, supportive workbooks designed for people who may not have the language yet for what they're experiencing and who also don't need to be fixed or rushed or pushed forward. Inside Through the Fog, we move slowly and intentionally. I start by orienting you to grief itself, what grief can feel like, why everything can feel foggy, and how we can begin to rebuild a sense of safety when the world no longer feels familiar. We explore what's happening in your nervous system after loss, including overwhelm, shutdown, and why your body may feel like it's working against you, even when it's actually trying to protect you. We gently make space for emotional waves, triggers, and intensity without asking you to understand, analyze, or make meaning of it all. We name experiences like survivor's guilt and self-blame with compassion, offering practices that soften rather than force healing. And we end by exploring support and connection, how to identify what feels safe, who feels safe, how to receive help, and how to stay connected with your community, your loved ones, without overextending yourself. Nothing inside of Through the Fog asks you to move on. Instead, it helps you stay with you, offering grounding, micro practices, emotional language, and tiny anchors you can return to on days when clarity is hard to find and energy is low. This kind of support matters because grief isn't a problem to solve. It's a state of adjustment. It's emotional, physical, and relational, and it deserves care that meets you where you are. Through the Fog offers a steady presence in that space in between. No answers, no timelines, no expectations, just something to return to so that you don't have to feel quite so alone inside of the fog. As we close today, I want to remind you of this. Grief doesn't unfold in a straight line. There will be days that feel like trudging through the mud, days that feel like you've been ripped wide open, days that feel numb, and days where nothing quite makes sense. You're not doing grief wrong. You are living this human experience, It just means you're human, adjusting to a loss that shook up your whole world. If you find yourself in a season where you need something gentle and steady, Through the Fog is being created and will be out very soon. Even though it's not available just yet, it's right around the corner. So you can add your name to the wait list at laurenlentz.com and I will notify you when it's ready. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for allowing yourself to be exactly where you are today. Even showing up in small ways matters so much more than you realize. Don't forget to give yourself credit for that. Till next time, big hugs and lots of love. You've been listening to the Widows Collective. I'm Lauren Lentz, and it means so much to me that you spent this time here today. If you found comfort or connection in today's episode, I invite you to please subscribe, leave a rating, or share it with someone who might need a little support. You can also follow me on Instagram at I'm Sorry We're Friends and join my email list at laurenlentz.com to explore my one-to-one grief coaching, group program, retreats, and other tools designed to help widows navigate loss with understanding and guidance. I hope you'll join me next week for another conversation where we'll continue exploring grief, healing, and ways to reimagine life after loss. I'm sorry you're here, and I'm so grateful that you are. Thank you for being a part of this community. Your presence is an act of courage and self-compassion, and I'm honored to walk this path alongside you.